Tēnā rawana kai te tukutori tapu tū uri uri whā io. O roto mai anō i tō korau tū. Ko i ahau kua hoki ke mai nei anō ki roto ki a tātou mātou. Kawe mai anō ai te kōrero ki a Tahumaakaakanuimatua. Whakataunga kreme o te 2023 mātoru. Whakamoe mitiake, whakanui, whakawhetairawa e pā, ai te ingoa te iehua. Mene, ka piti hono ka tātai hono ko rātau mātonu tērā te mate ki a rātau. Ka piti hono ka tātai hono, ko tātou mātonu anō tēnei tātou mākua. Te kānohi ora kia tātou ki rota tēnei wātonu nei. Karamui mai ngā kōrero a Tahumaakaakanuimatua ki ngā whakataunga kreme. Kōrero nunuike. Ki tēnei pōko i anō ahau kua hoki ke mai nei anō. Ki te kawe mai ngā kōrero nunuike. Hei kawe mai ki roto tēnei wātonu nei. I roto tonu anō hoki tēnei rā. Putāti ki roto ki ngā rā. Tae noa mai anō ai ki tēnei wātonu nei. Ai pā. E tāma. E tatau koau. Kai te mihi atu. Te kānohi ora, kai te mihi atu. Tēnā rā tātou mauri ora. Kahuri. Ai, kia ora, te ariki matua kāia. Kua hoki ke mai nei anō ki roto ki a tātou mātou. Yes, good to be back. And yes, as you would well know, very important why I've come back tonight. I'm not usually due back again until next Monday. But next Monday night, one of the major reasons I've come back on tonight is that next Monday night is the deadline for the Whakatapu. E tātou mā, and one of the questions why some people have noted some of the vivid and apparent changes in my reo. I said, well, my reo never changes, always. Ka noho tonu atu ahau ki roto ki te reo Tahumaakaakanuimatua tūturu. Hoi anō te kawe mai o te takoto te kupu. Kai roto kai te takotoranga o te wā tonu tērā i te nuinga o te wā. Kaua i te mea tūturu rawa i te nuinga o te wā i runga i te mea ngā mea whiwhiri tonu atua ia Tahumaakaakanuimatua hei mea tāhai. He mea tonu hei whānako kia rātau i roto i ngā rā nei, i roto i ngā wā nei. And just the reason why we, firstly, why my reo does seem different to some. It hasn't changed at all, though. I just was mentioning that I don't change my reo as a rule. It's always Tahumaakaakanuimatua tūturu. But if you're talking about the reo Hapu, Hapu, yes, I've been using as Te Awa, which is still Tahumaakaakanuimatua. We are Te Awa. And so when we have cause to switch in that fashion on a reo Hapu basis, sometimes our reo can switch to Te Awa reo. That's tūturu. That's the way iwi reo is organised. And that's the way even reo Hapu uretārewa Māori. That's how their reo is organised too. You'll find once you get used to reo tūturu, but especially reo iwi. Reo iwi is very, very switchy. So, but it depends on which of the uretārewa you're with on the ground. It depends on which of the iwi bases that you're in, and especially when we're talking about, because we're still talking about TeTaiTokerau AukatiTai, or the northern territories, the northern districts e Tatauma of the AukatiTai of the north. In that area we spoke a lot of the Te Awa dialect, and so therefore, you know, a lot of our matters surround matters and issues within the TeTaiTokerau AukatiTai. And so just before I get on to everything, I just thought I'd mention that Te Awa is a part of our reo anyway, just like TeTaiTokerau. You know, I could very easily go into TeTaiTokerau wherever I am. And that's another part of our reo, but very significant for us is te reo Te Awa Moai Hapu as well, within the TeTaiTokerau AukatiTai. Those are our two kind of lines. So we are likely to, it's not just an acknowledgement, but it's also a reverence for the tuakana lines that we are part of. Which, you know, it shows their authority and their influence within the whole of the regions that we are in. Not necessarily from throughout the Tahumaakaakanuimatua wenua, rohe wenua, in that area, in that region, but definitely there's a seniority authority in there that we welcome wholeheartedly, and that's one way of putting that. And that once we, you know, because we're quite often in that region, we're going to come to congregate and assemble a lot. And ka Whaiwhaiaa, ki roto kia Te Awa, ki roto tonu anō hoki kia Moai Hapu, i te TeTaiTokerau AukatiTai. So, that's the way ReoTuturu operates. It can become switchy, but very, very switchy is reo iwi, okay, or reo hapu, so to speak, reo hapu. Now, a part of that is reo awa hapu, which is what I'm utilizing there, switching constantly at the moment into te reo awa hapu or Te Awa, as we look towards settlements in the TeTaiTokerau AukatiTai. So I just thought I'd mention that for you there. But definitely very, very significant kōrero to bring you, which is why I've hopped on again tonight, otherwise I wouldn't have. And that is just so to clarify for you exactly the position that we have. And in fact, most of the position that we have today, most of the situation, the explanation, the whole of the descriptive around the whole of the situation for us and for the Kahungunu rangitāne today is pretty much, what set all of this situation up was the situation in 2014, 2015, that era actually set everything up. So things haven't changed from since then. And, whilst we have I don't know that we actually still do have the forged, the defrauded agreement on the table still. My guess is that I'll know tomorrow, because I'll be talking to members of the Crown tomorrow. I've got other hui on tomorrow. But, it'll probably be after 2 o'clock, somewhere around there. I'll get to chat a bit with some of the Crown and get a good idea of where that agreement is now. All the whilst, that's the other reason I hopped on tonight, is all the whilst we still await our lawyers. Now, they're going to want an urgent one as soon as they're ready, so we're wide awake for that. We're awaiting that with great anticipation. And we're looking forward to hearing from them because we know all of the work that they've committed to doing for us in the process. And as we look to continue to fight this constant, this criminal way of the Kahungunu rangitane of operating within the process space, and this flawed manner and illegal manner in which the Crown continues to operate the process. A lot of people have said to us along the way, they've said to us, why don't you just settle under them? And, because most of the other tribes have done the same thing. I said, well, we're not most of the other tribes. We're Tahumaakaakanuimatua. I said, well, can you tell me, are any of these other tribes as senior as we are? And they said, actually, no. And then I said, okay, any of these other tribes, have they got a claim as big as ours right throughout the Motu? They said, actually, no, they haven't. And I said, any of these tribes in the Motu, have they got an overlapping claim, a blanket claim and an overlapping claim all in one? And actually a claim to the extent of what we claim. And are also looking to, start to settle nationally as we are. And they said, no. I said, then do not ask us to do the same thing as any other tribe has done. We are Tahumaakaakanuimatua, and we will do as Tahumaakaakanuimatua, or what is best for our people. And what is best for our people is not to take the huge risks that we would be taking if we were to ever settle under these people. Firstly, we can't trust them. Secondly, we knew they were fraudulent. They had a fraudulent past. And look, they've now got a fraudulent present. So we're lucky that we haven't settled yet. And thirdly, they're far from the caliber and the mana wenua and the tūturutanga as proclaimed by the Crown. We've even looked at all the Crown's evidence on that, and they got bugger all. Kōre take te kōrero te karauna. And that's one of the main reasons that I've come back on tonight. What I'm going to share with you mostly tonight, I've got an update for you on the settlements, but I'm going to share with you mostly tonight that the simple facts revolved around the present situation that we have currently. And it all evolved out of 2014, 2015, out of that era. It grew. There's some specific details that have added along the way. But we want to tell you why. And we want to, because of a lot of the questions we've received over the past week, we want to share with you why, just to clarify for all those minds out there that are really inquisitive and deeply questioning about why we are doing the things that we are doing. And, it seemed like it was all about the violence last week. Last week it probably was. That's what and I admitted to that. It probably was, because there's a lot of angry people in the Motu and a lot of angry people in Tahumaakaakanuimatua. Now, that didn't mean to say that we were going to get all out violent. That I also shared that with you last week, but I was just being honest about how we were feeling and how a lot of our people were feeling about various instances within the situation that we have. Tonight I'm going to share with you mostly how that situation came to be. And we look at all the facts and figures, and I just mentioned Crown Research, and Crown Research is awfully monocultural, one-eyed. There's no Tuturu worldview, there's no super tribal worldview, there's no iwi worldview, and yet they go on about Kahungunu or Rangitane being iwi, and these are recurring instances within the evidence that tell us how flawed and how way off the mark exactly that the Crown, the Kahungunu and the Rangitane are. Well, that's how they've been right through. Since 2009, since we entered the fray, since we entered the process, this is all we've had. Is the flawed nature of proclamations of the Crown, and then the flawed and corrupted nature of the operations of the Kahungunu Rangitane as well. As well as their allies. We talked about Tūhoe, we talked about the Ngāpuhi and the Awa in the north. We talked about their support for the Kahungunu claim down here, and in fact, their support for the Crown grand narrative. The Awa, they should know better than that. And same with the Tūhoe, they should know better than that. A corrupted, flawed story as the grand narrative is, which revolves around Kahungunu Rangitane as well, which is why I mentioned that last week. A flawed story as that. You don't go around the motu, and especially around pages that I always frequent, and mention your utmost, and reinforce and mention your utmost support for Kahungunu claims and the grand narrative of the Crown, etc., etc., etc. I mean, for me, and for another taiopuru, and that's where I challenged me. For another taiopuru, we're people of the law. We uphold the law to the hills, The letter of the law is the way we have to operate. And so I was extremely critical of that taiopuru in the way that he was operating and talking about that grand narrative, because that grand narrative happens to be illegal. See? And all the claims that it claims are all illegal. And so we've looked to our law, our Tuturu law, or what we call tika. And so we've taken that order from within that, and we've looked at it in terms of the legalistics of today, in terms of the law system that we have with us today. And remember me talking to you about the differences between our customary law or Tuturu law or tika and the legalistics of today. Legalistics looks to deal with legal matters after the fact. Okay? Legalistics deal, the modern law system deals with law after the fact. Okay? That's the big difference. And our customary law is before, during, and after. It's a very, very ongoing, very, very, we call it a pragmatic system of law. And our pragmatic system of law of our tupuna or our ancestors operated in that fashion. You could get nabbed at any time. You were under watch, lock and key 100% of the time. Especially though if you had to be. Okay? So we had rangatira, warriors, a lot of them were whaiwhaiaa. And they positioned themselves in different areas of the hapuri, different areas of ngā rohewenua, ngā tīkare, kai reira ngā whaiwhaiaa I roto I ngā wāhi I whiriwhiri ake atu anua I kia rātau, hei wāhi tū kia rātau, wāhi noho tonu anō kia rātau. Mane, mā tiro noa ke atu anuai, kia wai ki te aha ne. And so, our ideas of policing and enforcing the law were continual. Okay, so, and hence we have a lot of karakia. I spoke briefly about the karakia that gets misused. This is why we don't join the other tribes in their use, especially the awa. We know that the awa and the tūhoe, they operate within a very corrupted, very, in fact, a lot of criminals operate the karakia today. And most of the people that do operate within the karakia, and they've just been handed the karakia just like that. They're the most ridiculous people. And none of them are aokohatsu. None of them have been shown properly how to utilize them. And in most cases, they're using them derogatorily, which is against the law. See? So, yeah, very, very corrupt the way that sort of area of traditional life operates today. So we're very, very critical of all those operations of especially the awa and the tūhoe in the country who tend to operate quite derogatorily, quite criminally, and very much against the law. And some of those karakia I was going to mention is karakia tūtei, okay, or like spyware. All those sorts of things, karakia, you can memeha and all those sorts of things. So you can have, rangatira, you can have whaiwhaiaa actually watching you and you don't even know it. You break the law while they're watching you, you don't know they're there. You're a goner. Yeah, I talked about last week how we can, karakia here, we can here people and, we can lock them up. We can actually imprison them, enslave them. Whakatau reka I te tangata. And we can use karakia in that fashion. They're the slave, and they will, from that day on, once they've been enslaved, from that day on, they will listen to the voice of their master, whoever that person is that they've degraded or committed whatever crime that they have committed. Let's say that they indecently assaulted a woman or sexually assaulted a woman or something like that, they would become their woman's slave. Let's say that woman might have him collect all their kai every day, and he would have to stay at a certain area between times that he wasn't working for their whānau and stuff like that. That slave might have to, kau kai and all that sort of thing, and whakangau kai, e rā mea katoa whakangau, e rā tūāhuatanga katoa, they might have to do all their hunting and everything for them, and then go back to the one area, and they will do what they're told, because the karakia keeps them under that sort of control. And that person would only listen to the orders of that one voice of that person that they've been enslaved to. So, and that, our law was so stringent, so strict, so tough that, you never got 10 years, you never got 20 years for the heaviest sentences, or double up on that if you did many, many, many different crimes. You got locked up for the rest of your life. You didn't get out. That was your lot. You became a slave. Some crimes just were not tolerated. Okay? Some crimes were just not tolerated, like murder, like sexual abuse, or all those sorts of crimes. You either got killed or you got locked up and you didn't get out. Okay? Okay, so there you go. And some of the worst crimes to be a part of are such as what's going on with the karakia today, or the incantation, the spell, the mākutu, or black magic, as we call that, Mataawha or Whaiwhaiaa, that we call that today, black magic, all that sort of thing, the occult, karakia, all those sorts of things are not operated properly today. Okay, and in fact, many criminals have their hands on the Karakia today. Why? Because from what we can gather, the tūhoe just don't care anymore. They don't care about the tūturu ways, the old ways of operating those things. They think that the more control that they can have of people, and the more that they can keep people operating in their way, then the more that their tūhoe ways get spread around the country, and that's not right. For us, that's illegal as well. Tūhoe, in fact, tūhoe, actually not even welcome to operate tūhoetanga officially within our hapori anywhere, Tahumaakaakanuimatua. So what you'll find is once we have locked those sorts of things down, certain tribes, that have, especially those tribes that have caused us problems right through this period in time, and have been spiteful to us and derogatory to us, and have takataka ni ia Tahumaakaakanuimatua I roto te hia kei nei te wā, hia kei nei te wā, mai I roto anō I te whanake hia o I nei wā, putatia anō ki roto te nei wā tonu nei, no go. So we will be looking to lawfully deal with those people when the time comes, and we will be doing that. We'll be enforcing the law in every part of our regions, and we will be dealing with those people that we need to deal with in every part of our regions as the times come around. Now, in full, that's the TikaTikangaKawa, that's law and order of the tūturu kind, okay, of the customary kind, law and order. TikaTikangaKawa. All those concepts revolved around those three areas of law and law, make up basically the entirety of our law system. And it's an ongoing thing. Before, during, and after the fact, we enforce the law. Okay? Before, during, and after the fact, we enforce the law. And it's well controlled. Usually I've shared a lot of this sort of kōrero, and the same with most of this type of kōrero that I'm going to share with you tonight, where I share all of the facts and figures of why we have the present situation that we have tonight. And it's mostly as a result of a lot of the consequences of the situation for the opposition, for the Kahungunu, Rangitane, and the Crown, mostly because of their disposition, really. That's why we have the situation we have today. But a lot of the facts and figures that I'm going to share with you, and the evidence of all of that make up the situation, are very, very specific. And they will bring everybody into realization that the reasons why we have taken things the way that we have are exactly because of those, for those very reasons, and that we are very, we are, how can I put that? They validate, let's say, they validate the whole of our movements, everything that the Whakatapu, the Whakatapu e Tatauma, the Whakatapu is very, very validated, very valid, very legal, very necessary in the entirety of this situation. That is one of the main reasons that I'm on tonight. Let me get on to the update while I'm still thinking of the update freshly in my mind. E Tatauma, and that comes with our update, the actual kōrero around the Whakatapu. And that kōrero mainly owes to the fact that one of the things that Kahungunu, Rangitane, and the Crown need to understand is that whilst, the entirety of Whaiwhaiaa is our land, and we are the authority and the law of the land, not the Crown. We are the legal iwi in the land. We've already proven that. Extraordinarily, let's say, we've absolutely proven that, comprehensively proven that. And it's quite plain to see that even the Kahungunu Rangitane and the Crown can see that actually it should be Tahumaakaakanuimatua in these lands. However, that still doesn't make us want to settle, and in the current fashion, settling under Kahungunu Rangitane, definitely out. Settling with a defrauded settlement as we have had on the table, definitely out. Now, that might be already taken off the table. We don't know yet, but I will know that tomorrow. And if it is, I'll get back when I get back next week, because next week is the next time for me to be on. And that is the 17th of July, which is also the night e tatau aroha mai, which is also the night I get a little bit like that because of my timing for my kaipō. Sometimes I rush it if I know I've got a kōrero to do. And, but anyway, look, e tatau the Whakatapu, the time for that to be restricted in terms of taking it to full power runs out at Turukipo next Monday at Turukipo, that's midnight. And we will have the Whakatapu set over the entirety of Waiwhaiaa at that time. Now, this is why one of the major reasons that I've hopped on tonight, it is fundamental that I get on tonight and bring us bad news for Kahungunu Rangitane, but good news for us. Oh, another thing is, another area that people have questioned me is it a danger, is the Whakatapu a danger for the tamariki mokopuna kāhore? Karakau i te mō rea nei, te āhuatanga ki roto ki tēnei o ngā Whakatapu karakau. Karakau i te mō rea ki ngā tamariki, ki ngā mokopuna, tēnei o ngā Whakatapu, okay? So there's no danger at all for the kids, for the young people. Young people are not, right up to adolescent age, 18, around about 18 years of age, doesn't affect you. But still bad news for Kahungunu Rangitane. Next week, we are particularly, we've been particularly noticing, the amount of non-compliance that there is in the region. The current state, the current situation with settlements as well, the defrauded agreement, the fact that, because it's, it definitely should be Tahumaakaakanuimatua in these regions within Wairarapa and Heretaunga Wairua and the Kahungunu know it because they've started to really push to try and claim us as theirs, and they don't know, but if they hadn't have came out and started claiming us hard out, we possibly, who knows, we possibly a few years ago we could have ended up signing the agreement, just to see what would happen and whether we would get sucked in under them and be stuck there for the rest of our lives. We anticipate that is part of the deal. That's what we anticipate, and this is why we won't sign. We won't sign that because we're not Kahungunu, we're not Rangitane, and they're not iwi. We're the iwi. We're the iwi, and this would be where, we know for a fact that the Kahungunu, and especially after the talks around the settlement bill in December 2022, they fully came to the realization that it should be Tahumaakaakanuimatua in these regions. And so the last 15 years that we've been carrying on about that has suddenly rung true with the Kahungunu, and so they're going all out to try and claim us. And they're dumb. They're dumb. Because they're claiming us, there's no way we're going to sign any deal with them. Because that means after we've signed that deal, we're theirs. And that is not only illegal, but absurd, weird. It's ridiculous. And, to be, I mentioned that last week, that he puka ki no rātau, puka kahungunu, puka rangitane. Okay? So, there's, we are Tuturu no tō mātau reo. Tuturu anō hoki no te tikanga me te kawa o mātau. Tuturu katoa no te tino o mātau. And we even are innovative and creative. Yeah, we still remain, more tuturu than most of the iwi in the country. Okay? And we still remain that within that bracket. And the tino te tuturu, we managed to retain all of that sort of thing. Why? Because we know te AukatiTai a lot better than most of the others. Okay? And we're very fortunate in that respect. We're very, very fortunate. However, where the Whakatapu is concerned, because of the level of non-compliance that there is and there remains within the region, what we're going to do, unless, of course, we get to settle with compromise, that's the only thing that could change the current state of affairs, which is why I've hopped on tonight to deliver the news, and that is that the Whakatapu, unless we get the compromise and settlement, the Whakatapu will go ahead regardless. Okay? So next Monday night, Turukipo, the Whakatapu will be at full power. And our warning to everybody that probably the best thing is for everybody to comply, to be compliant with the claims of the Tahumaakaakanuimatua on Whaiwhaiaa, which revolve around the entire of the region, and also the settlements of Tahumaakaakanuimatua, which revolve around the entireties of the region as well. And we're going to hold that Whakatapu right there. The only way that they can free up that Whakatapu and have it lifted is to fulfill the 5 requirements. Now, I spoke about that last week, the 5 requirements of the Whakatapu, which revolve around, the first 3 revolve around the main causes of the laying of the Whakatapu in the first place. The whole reasons for the Whakatapu are right there within the 5 requirements. So unless we get that settlement and unless we get that compromise, e tatama, ho ati tonu anuai, te kaha tonu, te mana tonu, runga rawa tonu, kaharawa tonu o te Whakatapu, te Whakatapu, ki runga o Waitarapa hai tau owa, hai turuki pō, hai te turuki pō, hai turuki pō, ki te rāhina, ki te takau mā whiti, o te maramatua whiti. So, that's part of the major, the critical part of our kōrero tonight in terms of the update. We also are continuing to await our lawyers, but we anticipate lots of good news. We anticipate still a bit of a battle ahead, but we anticipate doing that quite differently from how we've been operating to date, from 2015, let's say 2014, 2015 till now. So things will change slightly and the way that our lawyers have us operate will govern the space in terms of the settlements. But will we still go for settlements in Waitarapatara? Of course. Of course. Kia hatia, kia hatia, kia hatia. And TeTaiTokerau, AukatiTai, of course. Of course, we'll continue to go for settlements up there as well. But we will continue to operate around the ways of operation of settlement that we see befitting for Tahumaakaakanuimatua. Now, silly of me not to think of some of the ways of, because we've had lawyers in the past, and we haven't had lawyers for ages over the time, probably since 2013, 2014, I think was the last lawyer that we had. And, I just wanted to share this part with you, and that is that one of the things that our lawyers may try to get us to do is settle. And settle under the opposition. And that's not going to be something that's going to rub up too nicely with us. Yeah, we're going to get real upset at that. Because at the moment where we stand with opposition, we don't like them at all. And we don't want to have too much to do with them at all. And in fact, we've joined a lot of people in the country who want these oppositions shut down. Because they're just disgusted, absolutely disgusted in this opposition, and that's not going to go down too well with us. But if we don't get the deal that we want, should we settle and listen to our lawyers at that point? What I want to say that is that I'm going to make sure, and my governance board will make sure that we reverse that deal, and that we ensure that we do not follow suit for what the Crown wants within this process. If it's just not built for Tuturu iwi, which is what we are, if it's not built for us, then stuff it. The Crown can go and get stuffed. And we would rather that the Crown leave our country and leave it well alone, because they're destroying our country as far as we're concerned. And iwi like ours, we're part of those that got destroyed out of the country during the processes of the Crown takeover in this country. And as far as we're concerned, the whole of the Crown way of looking at these things is just utterly disgusting. Utterly disgusting. If we, the Crown doesn't understand this, but if we get taken over by these kahungunu rangitane, and even if we did sign a deal with them, did they realise that there'd be outright war in these regions? Because that's how it's going to turn out. There's no way we're going to settle under these people. There's no way we're going to settle under the corruption of these people, and there's no way that we are going to have anything to do with a deal with Kahungunu rangitane. Especially as they've got a past that's fraudulent, and they've got a present that's fraudulent. And you know what? It just doesn't make sense. But I just wanted to share that with you tonight, because that's one of the take that have come up with Te Runanga Nui o Tahu. Oh, sorry, with myself and National Office, my board and National Office, that this place is going to erupt into war. It's going to end up a war in these regions, and that's another reason why we're taking the Whakatapu straight to the top, full power. It'll be at full power from Tirukipo next Monday. Okay, and that's the reason why. If they keep enforcing things like this, we're going to end up with big wars in these areas, and that's what's going to happen, because it's just not right. We're the senior party here. We're the most senior here, and we are just, we're absolutely disgusted, and we think it's disgraceful that this Crown party that doesn't have any evidence to reinforce what they're saying or prove what they're saying, and keeps control of these junior groups and they keep them in the hunt by saying to them, even though we've exaggerated, you still act like you're the main tribes here, even though you're not, stick with us and keep us in control of all the resources around here, because that's what we did in 1840. From 1840, you will not get that from Tahumaakaakanuimatua. You'll get a war. That's what you'll get. And this is why I've often, even with my boards, I'm pretty sure my governance boards, are a little taken aback by a lot of the kōrero that I've shared with them. But those are the realities. Those are the realities. You can't expect. You look at the differences with our iwi and their tribes. You look at the differences in seniority and juniority. You look at the differences in evidence, And this is why I'm bringing you a lot of this kōrero tonight, because I'll show you a lot of the facts and the figures as to why we're going to stay true and stay strong with what we claim and how we will settle in these regions. It's going to end up all-out war if Kahungunu, Rangitane, end up trying to take over in these regions. And there's no way they're going to get to take over Tahu, because that'll cause war as well. Because Tahu already know who they are. And Kahungunu, as far as we're concerned, they got no Tahu and Kahungunu. They got nothing. They got no Tahu and Rangitane either. We've got it all. We hold the Tahumaakaakanuimatua, and we hold all of that tūturutanga true. It doesn't matter what their claims are on us. All their claims we've already proven are outright false, outright, claiming to some imaginary tahu that doesn't even exist. Well, we exist, and we are from Raiatea Tahiti, and there is no way that we are going to align with the tahu that they want us to align to, which is somehow, we don't know how, but somehow they claim a tahu, that we are that tahu, and that we are descendants from them, and also that we come from Rarotonga. Well, that's not true. We don't come from Rarotonga, and we're definitely not from them. They can't even produce the whakapapa. Hey, you remember me saying that? I've said that countless times. 2015, we asked for the whakapapa lines of original ancestry descent from them that show us as descendants of theirs. And they can't do it. Why? Because they haven't got any. Why? Because we don't. We don't come from them, and their claims are false. Same with the Crown. Their claims are false as well. And we might as well forget all of this process and go to war. And I've said that countless times. I've said that countless times, that if that's what they want, if that's where they want to take this, the whole scene is set from next week. Turuki Pō, our Whakatapu will be right over this region, all ready to go to war, if that's where they want to go. Otherwise, bring on the compromise and bring on the settlement, if that's what they want. If that's what they want to do this peacefully, because to us, that's a wager of war. I mean, you're asking us to go to war by trying to force us to go under you. If you're most junior in any region, and you've got the Crown and a Crown process saying to you, go under us and sign under us and be ours, even though we can't claim you properly, and everything that we claim about you is corrupt and incorrect, still go under us anyway. That's saying to us, do you want to scrap about this or just go under? We're going to go, nah, we'll rather the scrap, because we know we'll kick your ass. See? And that's where this is coming to. That's where we can see this is coming to. If Kahungunu Rangitane don't give this up, if the Crown doesn't give this up, there's going to be one big fight in the muti. Okay? Because they're wrong. And they're not admitting to that. They need to admit to that and change their direction. Otherwise, one big fight. That's all you're going to get. Okay? And that's very, very important kōrero for me to deliver for you tonight. And that's why I jumped on, because that's where this is coming to. Yeah, big scrap. Everyone's guns are going to be out. Okay? And, a kahungunu in the region is only going to be a dead kahungunu, once it comes to that. There's far too many Tahumaakaakanuimatua and far too many allies through the islands, through Tahumaakaakanuimatua, 280,000 in the Musu. There's far too many. And when you look at our communities, look, 1.8 million plus people in the Motu. Now we're going to have a lot of people backing us in the Motu. So I don't think Kahungunu Rangitane or the Crown really have too much choices in the matter. Okay? There aren't too many choices in the matter. They have got one choice, and that's to settle with compromise. Give up all this non-compliance in the region and maintain the fact that we're too consistent, we're too staunch, we're too customary, we're too to do, and that's the way we're going to stay. We ain't changing for nobody. We ain't changing for nobody. And forget all their claims. We refuse all their claims. We refute all their claims. And we know that they're all illegal anyway. And so do our lawyers, because I've already shared all that stuff with them. And they know there's a lot more. There's a lot more. Okay? Now, yeah. Our kōrero has moved on really quickly. We've got about an hour to go, but look, as an update as far as the settlement is concerned, we could end up settling before next week. That's the reality. But I'm just giving you the reality of the situation as it stands. That's how it stands. That's how it stands. I mean, you can't tell. I mean, it's like in any whānau, where the seniors are, top-notch. They have everything together. Well, you never say to them, oh, settle under us. If you're the most junior in that whānau, you don't say, oh, settle under us, here, sign the dotted line, and that means we own everything, including you. I mean, would you do that? I mean, that's the most insulting thing that you could do to your most senior, isn't it? Doesn't that make sense, what I'm telling you? Well, this is what the Crown is getting Kahungunu Rangitane to do to us. Well, they don't know. But all they're going to get is a crack. That's what they'll get. And that's what they've been aiming at getting right through this whole 15 years. Okay, because that is exactly how things are going to turn out. I'm just talking about the realities. As Christian as I am, I've got to talk about, human nature takes over sometimes. Culture takes over sometimes, as much as we don't want it to. I pray that it doesn't get to that point. Hey, but where there is potential for that to always go to there, you've got to, be open about that reality. Okay, and these are some more of the reasons where I've been forced to stand up for my iwi, for Tahumaakaakanuimatua. Okay, and that's the reality. You're going to end up with a big war in Waiwhaiaa. Okay? And that's, yeah. I mean, that's like having these the most junior in your whānau. Let's say you've got a whānau of 20, eh? Let's say you've got a whānau of 20 and you're the two youngest, and you're talking to the eldest who's top-notch, got everything together, got all the giwas, everything. Hey, you got to be joking if you're a clown like the Crown is. If you're a clown like the Crown, you got to be joking if you're going to say to them, "Oh, here, sign the dotted line," and that means that I own everything and you go under us. What would you do? What would you do if you were that eldest in that whānau? What would you do? I mean, they're asking for a crack, aren't they? Especially if they're, they were adults, like these adults here, and actually a lot of them, kua kaumātua ke e tai, they still get a crack. I'm not joking to you, but a lot of kaumātua and that, fought in the wars in olden times. That's how good they were. That's how good they were. They were very, very powerful up top. And they fought in our wars. They fought in our battles, the elders. Especially up to kaumātua level. Yeah, especially kaumātua. Even they fought in the wars. I'm not silly. But it's not right for us to succumb to this sort of pressure and to be absolutely debilitated by a process that's all it seems to do. If you're senior in the region, if you're proven, if you're outright, if you've got your tūturutanga together like we have, if you've got everything it takes to do the deed in your region and take good care of everything customarily in your region, and you have all the goods to do that, you know what? You should be allowed to do that, but right from 2009, we haven't been allowed. Why? Because of these idiots from Tūhua. The Tūhua idiots are the worst kind. Awa later on joined them, or they came out of the woodworks anyway. And, you had Kahungunu rangitane, especially, putting the stoppers on there. But we're the ones with all the goods. How do they propose to, where they're going to go to, let's say we did settle and we did settle under them, what are they going to do? We're the ones with all the goods, We're holding everything. We even got all the evidence of everything. How are they going to set anything up? How are they even going to operate within the TeReoTuturu of this region? How are they going to operate there? Because they don't even know. But the TeReoTuturu of Whaiwhaiaa is Tahumaakaakanuimatua, o Tutura te matua, o te awa, o Moai Hapu. That is the TeReoTuturu of this region, or Tahumaakaakanuimatua Tuturu. That's what we call that. Okay, that is the reo of this region. And how are they going to operate? They haven't got any reo. They haven't even got a reo Māori they speak about. They talk about this reo Māori. Kai whea ko ia te rā reo e huna atu anani. Kai whea. Ka reno au I rongo atu. Ka reno au I rāngona atu ki tēnā o ngā reo I te motu. Kai whea ko ia te rā o ngā reo. E o rāna mai nei. Kai te e te rā kōrero tia, kahatia. Koto te Māori tonu te mea, koto heiwi tonu anu o te rā te Māori. Kai te rawa tēnā. There's no such thing as a Māori people. That's a crown adapted thing that we disagree with as well. So wherever there is such a reo called te reo Māori, we would love to see the full, all the specifics of that reo. We would love to see that because we haven't seen that yet. In all my life, kai te rāngona atu e au, e reo Māori tēnei, reo Māori te... He Māori no te kupu, no te reo io. Ai, ko ia tērā te Māori tia, mai o te āhuatanga, me te wairua, e rā āhuatanga katoa I roto I te mea. U atu ai kia ranginui, u atu ai kia papahā uenuku, puta mai anu ai ki roto ki ngā tuatuatanga. Ko ia tērā te Māori e mātaurawa ana e mātau. Now to say that we are a people of that, of the same as that is quite, kia mātai he whakahihi tērā, he peha tērā. He peha, he pakiwaha tērā. You know, to us, that's a bit of an exaltation of oneself, to me. Ki te ki mai nei, katoa no tātou, titiru mai anō ai, TeTaiTokerau nei roto, tahi mano warirau whātakau. He Māori tonu ke anō mai nei tātou mātou te iwi, you know. E rawa ke ati no tira. E rawa ke ati no tira. Okay, so that's the situation there, tātou mā. And, but we've got to await our lawyers still and see what else they've got for us. I'm hoping that they don't come to us with that. Who knows what we would decide should that come to us. We would want there to be compromise in the settlement, that's for sure. And I think we'll become gridlocked, to be honest. I don't think that'll come out anywhere near what people would want that to be, because we're never going to go under them. We'll never go under them. Especially at the point we're at now, where they've defrauded the actual agreement. We'll never go under them. And if our lawyers ever ask us to do that, we're going to be just as disgusted in them as we are with this whole deal. You know, because it's defrauded. It's defrauded. It's quite clearly defrauded. And we would rather take that to court. Flesh out all the specifics around the defrauding of that agreement, which is quite clear, and then take it to the cops. And they're goners. They're goners once we can do that. Okay, they're goners. They can't get out. There's no way that they can, they can deny anything. There's no way that the Crown process can cover them or anything like that. All the truth will be out in the open. The ruling of the court would be final. And so we go to the police then, they're goners. And that's what we're aiming to do. But, if I had to put it to my board, I guarantee you we end up gridlocked. No one wants to go under. And it's too risky. It's not a deal that I would make with, and neither would any of my governors make with a fraudulent, a fraudulent people. And also for the simple fact that, how can we trust them in the first place? How can we even trust them? Okay? But that's the situation e tātou mā. Whakatapu, hai a tērā wiki, if we don't get the settlement and compromise straight away. It's all goners, for Kahungunu rangitāne. All their settlements will need to be backed up. And, if we get to take all of those illegal settlements to court anyway, they had it, really. They had it because there's too much proof to reinforce that all those lands and those ancestries, actually Tutura, belong to us. They belong to Tahumaakaakanuimatua, and we can prove it outright. They can't even prove that they're all Kahungunu, yet they're still, they're taking them under the Crown process, and the Crown process is going, they've ticked the box and signed it, and they haven't even checked any of it out. Why? Because they don't care. See? That's how flawed the Crown process is. That's how flawed it is. They should have people in there that check all that sort of stuff. But these are the sorts of things that Kahungunu operates on. They know that. See? They know that. So they use those sorts of loopholes to get everything that they want past the Crown's eyes. My guess is that Crown members have signed the agreement and didn't actually realise it was defrauded. Okay, we're not that silly. We're not that silly. But that's how silly the Crown can be. I mean, they'll still get in trouble. But guilty of fraud, well, probably they'll get off. Okay? But, that's the situation, e tatema. And we have to talk around, the likelihood of war. And it's very, very likely. The potential is there for these areas to break out into war. for people to end up shooting at each other, for different iwi members attacking others on the streets, and different community members and groups sticking up for them and all that sort of thing. There's going to be a war in this region should we get forced under the Kahungunu rangitane, because we're not going to go for that. We disagree as the elder, as the senior of all these groups. The Crown, the Kahungunu rangitane can shove it up their ass, as far as we're concerned. And, some people are talking about shutting down Kahungunu, shutting down rangitane. Well, I'd like to see all three shut down, to be honest, after the settlement. Because neither of them really have any skin in the game. None of them have any teeth. There's no teeth in any of their claims, and in fact, it's all just about illegal. Okay, but what's the positive side of this? Well, we could get a settlement with compromise, and we're hoping that that's where it comes to. And if they can see any sense in this, that is the most sensible thing that they could do, is bring through a new agreement, make it a settlement with the compromise that we need, that upholds our tūturutanga, the tūturutanga of Tahumaakaakanuimatua in these regions, and the rightful owners, that's who we are, the rightful owners of all the resources and taonga tiku iho in these regions, which is why we laid the Whakatapu in the first place, because we know that, and we've proven that, and we are that. Okay? Kahungunu rangitane have no right at all to be claiming to the entirety of Whaiwhaiaa, because that is an illegal claim. Okay? That is illegal. It's only right under the Crown because the Crown sees it that way. Okay? When the Crown took control of the junior ships from 1840, between then and 1850, that's when they started to work with those junior ships to make deals that, however illegal those deals were, they continued to ensure that those deals came through for them, and ensured that through those deals they could obtain control. Those deals, they offered the juniors more than they usually would have in terms of obtaining wealth and goods and resources in all the offers for land. That gave the Crown access to land, and then they were able to transact that land and finally own it. Don't forget, I told you last week, no such thing as land being a commodity before that started to happen in these regions. No such thing as ownership changing hands in lands once, until that started to happen in these regions. And how did it happen? Through the junior ships. Why? Because they could suck them in. The junior ships were able to be sucked in because usually juniors never got that much. Okay? And if you offered them more and more and more and more and more, even more than their senior ships, you always got a deal out of them. And the Crown, that's the sort of thing the Crown did to our people. And that's how they busted up the entirety of our tūturutanga, broke down all our structures of operation through the senior ships, and destroyed our culture, our heritage, until groups like us are respected more. I think there's always going to be war in these regions. I think there's always going to be outright war. And that's what you're going to get. Outright unrest and war and, just constant division and fighting. And, I know that's a weapon of the Crown, and I know that we shouldn't fall to that weapon, and we're not. But we've got to stand up for our rights somewhere along the line. Okay? I pray, though, that the Lord does something about this situation as potential for war that this situation is. I pray that the Lord comes in and makes sure that this opposition settles with compromise, because that's the only way forward from here. There's no other way forward, because they defrauded the agreement previously. They're never going to get that agreement to sit right with us now. they'll need to draw up the new agreement, add the compromise, and then we can all settle and have a nice day. Okay? All right? Yeah. Continuing on from there, let's, while we await the lawyers to get back, as soon as they call the urgent meet, we will do that. Don't forget, I'll be talking to the Crown tomorrow. And when I talk to the Crown, I'll get the lowdown on the current, the defrauded agreement and how that stands. And I'll deliver that news for you next week when I come back on. And let's not forget, next week is the restriction on the Whakatapu going to full power from Turukipo next week is over. Okay? If we don't get settlement and agreement with compromise by that point in time, it's full power. And the only way that they can lift that full power Whakatapu is by fulfilling the 5 requirements. And that will get it not just turned down, but totally lifted. Okay? And that's the only way they can do that. It'll be, I guess if they brought in the settlement with compromise, it sort of has the same effect. So, yeah, I guess we could do that. But we would still want our ancestries back, etc., etc. So we'll probably, we'll sign the agreement. We definitely want to settle, and we'll sign that. But first, you'll need to fulfill the 5 requirements of the Whakatapu. Then we'll lift that, and then we'll do the settlement deal, sign that off, and then we can settle. Otherwise, rangita ne kahungunu. Our communities, it would be best for our communities, remember, to be compliant, like the Kahungunu Rangitane will have to be from that point in time, and comply with the demands of the Whakatapu. Okay, we're running into around about half an hour, 45 minutes left on this call. So I'll go straight into the facts and figures. Look, yeah, a lot of kōrero in that update, eh? But here's all the reasons why we're in the situation that we're in. And throughout lots of different times, from throughout videos over the last 4 to 5 years, have taken up videos where I've explained a lot of these factors from throughout the different videos. What we've done, because of all the questioning that we've got, we have in particular a situation that is owed to all these different factors, and it's mainly, just as I explained before, mainly as a result of the way that the Crown, the Kahungunu and the Rangitane have operated in the space, through the process and within the settlement space to date. I mean, look, it's too, gosh, they're arrogant. They're so arrogant, if I was a part of any of their groups, I would be going against settlement. You know why? Because of what that says to the Whakatapu. What they're saying is, who cares about the Whakatapu? Let's just settle anyway. They don't realise the danger they're getting themselves into there. But the reason they do things like that is not because they don't care about the danger. They do. But the fact of the matter is they're so whakahihi, they don't care about anything else. See? They're so arrogant that they don't care about anything else. Their ears just close off. That's what I said to you. One of the biggest problems I've learned about the Kahungunu, and that is that he taringaturi, they've got no ears. No ears, Kahungunu, and that's what you do when you don't listen, when you totally disobey. Taringaturi oho, you totally disobey, the facts and the orders and the demands. And when things like that are totally disobeyed, And he taringa tiri no te tāngata. You know, the extreme arrogance that they show. And so they went and settled their different factions. That's the Kahungunu, Rangitane, and Waidarapa Moana, you know. And, gosh, what arrogant people. You know, and they knew the Whakatapu was there laid over the region. They know all we have to do is turn it up and they're gone us. You know, they are. They're basically gone us. They're going to have to reverse those settlements and comply. Because this region doesn't belong to Waitarapa Moana o Kahungunu o Rangitane. It belongs to Tahumaakaakanuimatua. And we've got all the proof of that. Okay, where's their proof? Oh, mate. All everything that they've got is crap. Crap, the poorest, you know, and we're going to walk through a lot of their evidence and a lot of the reasons why. You know, there's hundreds of over-exaggerations of kahungunu right throughout the evidence. Hundreds of it. You look through the actual evidence, none of it says that it's kahungunu. Okay, we've checked all the sources. Crap, utter crap. And all of the ancestries, 70 to 90% of those ancestries are all Tahumaakaakanuimatua. Why, even where they don't say that, where they do, there's either Hapu, Uretareba, or Tupuna names that are all most direct. Okay? And then when you get it in our reo, the reo of Tahumaakaakanuimatua, that's still saying the same thing. Okay? So we really don't need to say that this is about Tahumaakaakanuimatua and the evidence, but we do. We do. We know we've found Tahumaakaakanuimatua tanga in the evidence. We cite that. We cite all of that. Okay, but hundreds and hundreds of examples right throughout their reports where they say that Tupuna Kahungunu, that's rubbish. That's rubbish. They've over-exaggerated, especially through Tākirirangi Smith's reports. And then it flows on from his. You know, it flows on from his into some of the others. A couple of reports I did like. Ma, I liked Kathy Ma, and Sterling, Bruce Sterling. He's another good researcher in there. He fully questioned the actual Kahungunu claim. Throughout the Kahungunu 5%, you know, the land court evidence. You know, people were quite critical of a lot of the Kahungunu evidence from right throughout all of that. And so they should be, you know why? Because most of it isn't Kahungunu, that's why. It's Tahumaakaakanuimatua. And we've taken note of all of that. A lot of that sort of evidence is what I'm talking about next. And that we need to, take heed to what I'm saying. I'm not just seeming a little bit angry or a little bit upset for nothing. You know, I'm not making up some story or just being naturally angry. I'm never naturally angry. I'm usually quite relaxed and things like that. But coming down to stuff like this, and especially being, antai ōpuru ariki Mataawha o Tahumaakaakanuimatua, I am not happy with this situation. I'm very unhappy with this situation. And it's not right to bring us into a situation like this and still go arrogantly, blatantly for the same thing. Settlement under Kahungunu Rangitane and the Crown cannot happen here in Waitarapa. And once we put their Whakatapu to full power, they will feel that. And they will know that that's never going to happen here. Okay, because we could leave their Whakatapu on forever. And there's nothing they could do about it. And it would be totally tahu in this whole land. in Wairarapatararu, and there's nothing they can do about it. You understand? Nothing. Okay, once we've got it turned up to full power, they will need to fulfill the requirements, the whole 5, before we get it lifted. And like I said just before, we cannot sign any deal. If they bring us through the settlement and compromise, that'll be cool. We'll definitely sign that. All my signees under me will sign that. I will sign it first. That'll be the sign for them, that they will sign straight after me. Any dignitaries, they will all sign that agreement if it has that compromise in it, see? Otherwise, it's over for Kahungunu Rangitane and the Crown in this region. This region is ours. No Tahumaakaakanuimatua ki tēnei wenua. Okay? And that means we've got to stand up and defend it, because we've got idiots who think that their process and their pretty reports that they researched and wrote through the Waitangi Tribunal and CFRT and whoever else, that they wrote them, that their pretty little reports is going to do the deed on us. Wrong. Kaite tēnā. Kaite tēnā. You won't get past Tahumaakaakanuimatua that easily. Okay? And we don't even care if Tūhoe joins in, they're goners anyway. Tūhoe are wasting their time coming into a battle like that. We'll take them first, probably. Easy. Easy to take Tūhoe. Because they're too cocky, Tūhoe. Too arrogant and cocky. That's what their problem is. Okay? I mean, a lot of our whānau, a lot of our uri, a lot of our hapu have got bullets with Tūhoe written on these bullets. You know, that's where it's at. That's where it's at. If we got to go to war, we're not going to be losing any war. As long as I know that the Lord is with us, I guarantee you we won't lose that war. And we're sticking up for the lands that the Lord always blessed us with the right to stewardship and to guardianship over those lands. And we're going to continue to hold on to that right through and do it properly from that day that we gain full control right through. Okay? And that's what you've got a lot of right throughout the evidence, a lot of over-exaggeration of their researchers, not researching a lot of the material properly, and actually just willy-nilly, you know, rere kuri atu anō nei tō te tuhi, or te paurangahau, you know, te paurangahau, you know, not paying mind to the simple fact that nothing has been kahungunu right throughout most of the evidence, in fact. Okay? Nothing has been kahungunu. But that's what they've been saying in their reports. So, you know, I dare say if they had have won this gridlock, this battle, this conflict outright years ago, if they had have won this, I would have had a very, very heated up hui with the judges that looked over those reports and had the final say on their settlement. Because those people that signed off that settlement are gravely mistaken if they thought they were signing something with the reports to help them to decide that was valid, legal and binding, because that's not what that was. Because we've looked through all the reports and it's disgusting what they have. You know what? So whilst we're awaiting our lawyers, the Kahungunu claim to being iwi. Now look, we know what an iwi is now. Iwi, 5 to 8 uretareba. A number of reo. We know for our iwi, we have 16 at the core. 16 reo. We have one reo matua of all those reo, and we have a number of hapu ureta rewa Māori, ka puta mai anu ai ki roto ki te iwi. Okay? Now, there's 12 of those, 12 ureta rewa altogether. And lots of uri composites. Hapu ureta rewa composites, or they're the parts of our iwi, they make up the iwi. Uri, and of course, last but not least, whānau. Whānau. And even whānau can have different composite sizes, and mana, and tapu, etc., etc., etc. Like, for instance, haitauira, te whānau a panui. Okay? Te whānau a panui. He hapu ureta rewa no tira. Okay? So you can have, you can call your hapu ureta rewa a whānau as well at that degree, of that degree. But they're still a composite. Okay? They're still a composite. Just a different level of whānau, and ariki and ureta rewa of whānau. Yeah, that's what makes that particular whānau very special. They're among the most prominent and preeminent and most senior of our panui. Te tino o Apanui. That's what that really is. And the Apanui's whānau, or all his offspring, are where all the lines of the descendants of theirs come from. And so, let's get down to all of that kōrero e tatauma. Now they say that they're iwi, they're not iwi. E tatauma, see? I just said 5 to 8 ureta rewa. How many ureta rewa has Kahungunu got? None. That makes Kahungunu an uri. Why hasn't Kahungunu got an ureta rewa? Because Kahungunu is a fourth born. Okay? Yes, ariki line. Yes, direct of Tamatea Urehaya, who is mokopuna to Tamatea Ariki Nui. And, look, it's obvious. Fourth born, fourth line of descent of that line, and so therefore not an ureta rewa, and therefore an uri. That's what we term those sorts of groupings, those sorts of composite ancestries or descent lines. It doesn't matter how many wives he had, doesn't matter how many descents were his or not, they're still part of the uri. Okay? Now, being so junior, obviously most of his uri went to the senior lineages, were affiliated more to the senior lineages. And especially where lands were not kahungunu, where those lineages were born, most of the time they were held to affiliations of their seniors, and especially when they were outside of the juniors' lands, etc., etc., etc. Look, and they claim to be iwi. They claim to be also... what's the other claim that they have? Iwi, that's what the Crown calls an LNG, or a large natural grouping. They have a large natural grouping. Yeah, there's no large natural grouping there. Kahungunu has no ureta rewa. Rangitane has one. They have one ureta rewa, so they're not an iwi either. They're not iwi either. Iwi has 5 to 8 or more. Okay? Anything in between is just an iwi composite. Oh, sorry. Anything in between is just a hapu composite. Or hapu Māori tonu. Okay? So, those are some of the facts and figures that we need to be aware of. So they're not the iwi of Wairarapa Tararua or Heretaunga Ararau te Wairua. They're not the iwi of these areas. The iwi and the primary iwi and primary claimant of both these regions, as I've been saying, is Tahumaakaakanuimatua, which is us. Tahumaakaakanuimatua hapu, hapu nui tonu uretārewa, or iwi, or state, or LNG, or nation. Of these regions, we are the major claimant. We are the preeminent and prominent and primary of these regions. Now, they also claim that tahu comes from them. Tahu is a descendant of theirs. Well, when they talk to us about that, because we question them about it, and especially Hami, I always question Hami about things like that. You know what? Last time he spoke to me about that, he wanted me to assume, and he presumed we were talking about the same ancestor, Tahumaakaakanuimatua, but he said to me that their koroua also left oral research on that, and they said that Tahu was a part of their people. I said, yeah, but where's the evidence and the proof of that? You haven't substantiated that with cold, hard evidence. There's just talk, you know? And the other thing with their koroua, you know, that I didn't question that I wanted to, but it was too late because he had already gone. But I wanted to question him on his koroua. Now, I said what I was wanting to question was Hami. Now, are those koroua that produce that oral research for the Waitangi Tribunal, etc., were they all kōhatu? And if so, if they were all kōhatu, why wasn't it that they didn't mention the uretārewa? Why wasn't it that they didn't mention the iwi? Why wasn't it that they didn't mention the fact that you don't have original line whakapapa ancestry descents for Tahumaakaakanuimatua, showing the original descent line of us coming from you, when in fact they have shown up in oral research saying that Tahu does come from them. Where's the evidence? You know, you can't claim things like that if you don't have evidence. So what the bottom line for us, they produce no evidence, they've shown no original line descents, they've just got kōrero, you know, and they say that this is a tahu that comes from them, that comes from Rarotonga. Well, that's not us, because we don't come from Rarotonga. We definitely don't come from them, and they've got no proof of that. So we just have to assume that either he tahu pōhewa, tērā, e kōrero tia nei hami, he tahu kua hanganua, you know, just made up, hanganua, te tahu e kōrero tia nana e hami, you know. So, yeah, we that's the fact, right there, in black and white. That's the fact. The simple fact that they claim to a tahu pōhewa, which is not us. Okay, they claim to a tahu that comes from Rarotonga, which is not us. You know, we don't come from Rarotonga. What proves that? Well, for a start, our reo. Our reo proves that. The core concepts of our reo come from Tahumaakaakanuimatua, of Tutura te matua, of Taunaha, of Hapu. Okay? And we've got all those concepts outlined for them. All the core, the overwhelming majority that makes up the core of the makeup of those reo, of all our reo, come from Tahumaakaakanuimatua, of Tutura te matua, of Taunaha, of Hapu. Okay, there's no way we could be from Rarotonga. Okay, and then there's our whakapapa. Do you want any more? Do you want any more? Our whakapapa comes straight down through those lines. Okay? Straight down from Raiatea Tahiti, straight out from Western Samoa, from Tutura, straight in from Maui, Hawaii, straight in from Tongatapu. You know, I'm not joking to you, but the facts are pretty clear. Hey, the facts are pretty clear, and it's pretty well near time that Kahungunu Rangitane and the Crown gave up this little charade of theirs, you know? That, we own the process, you do what we say, or it's no deal. No, that little charade that they keep on playing with us, they're best to give that up. Or what we got is Whakatapu at full power, and you know what else we got? We got war coming up. Yeah, that's how this is going to finish up, and I don't think they understand actually where that has come to in this day and age. Since the defrauding, people have already started to lock it in. You know, they've already got their weapons out and ready to go. The guns are already out. Lock, stock and barrel. You know what? The Crown, Kahungunu and Rangitane, they're best to give this up. They're best to give this up. And there's nothing I can do about their situation. If our people want to go to war because they have control of their people on the ground, the Hapu Uretare will have control. And the Uri, all those composites have control of that on the ground. Once we're talking on the ground, that's where wars begin, is on the ground. Kirunga tonu, ki te paparahi kirunga tonu, ki te tū papa. Ko ia nā tonu anō hoki te wāhi o te puta, o te riri, nā. Pākaru tonu a ke atu anō ai, tērā katoa I roto I tērā wā. You know, I can't prevent that. Okay, and as much as I can pray and hope that things like that don't happen, they're all ready to happen. Okay, Kahungunu Rangitane and the Crown need to stop being so arrogant, stop being so criminal, stop being so corrupt, and let go of what they want to try and do in these regions and settle with compromise, or this is not going to go anywhere but war. Okay, and that's not being as a matter of something, as a matter of consequence or subsequent to anything that we've planned. We're not actually we'd rather be doing the opposite to war and Tahumaakaakanuimatua. But when it comes to that, I mean, we're going to have to let that happen, and we're going to have to be ready to defend ourselves too. And we're ready for that. Okay, but these are the facts, eh? These are the facts. Yeah, we're coming closer down to the end of this call. We're about 15 minutes away. Okay, here's some more facts. Now, yeah, there's nothing to substantiate, no evidence of Tahumaakaakanuimatua, and that's what they claimed right from 2009. As soon as we came into the space and we started to claim right across Kahungunu Rangitane, that's what they did. They claimed supremacy right across Wairarapa. And you know what? They even claimed that over the top of us, and we said, how can that be? We're too senior for you. Since when? Since when do we come from Kahungunu Rangitane? We don't come from you. And we've been saying that since 2009. You know what? They even had a cheek to take control of the report with all of that false claim. And the Crown, you know, who doesn't care, just listen to them. And they've been false claiming that right through from 2009. Even today, it's still a false claim. Now, you're asking for a punch in the head. If you're Kahungunu Rangitane and you think that this is going to come down to you and the Crown owning the space, forget that. Forget that. This is Tahumaakaakanuimatua. The whole of Waiwhaiaa, the whole of Taunga Te Wairoa is Tahumaakaakanuimatua, and that's where it comes down to. Okay? We are the rightful ahikaroa in these regions. Just the same as we're ahikaroa in our lands in TeTaiTokerau AukatiTai. Now, we're hoping we don't get the same battle up there, because we're going to have to do the same up there too. And we're not that dumb. We're not that dumb. But they're a bit more aokohatsu, the people that we're dealing with up there. They have a bit more understanding of aokohatsu. Te TikaTikangaKawa. As corrupt as we don't know whether awa and tuhua are just playing around or what, but we don't like the way that they play around. Because things are too corrupted, the amount of damage they're doing to people, whilst they're operating in that corrupt manner. To me, to me. And especially if you're going on doing that sort of thing for years and years and years and years, at a point, it becomes abuse. At a point. And that would be, even after the first 6 months of that particular action. No use people saying, he tā kune no rātau, ki muri atu. Ki muri tata tonu atu, ki e rā, mea tia, mea hia nei o rātau. He tū ki noke, no te āhuatanga o te mea, o rātau. It's got to be abuse to a certain degree. So we're going to do the same with awa and tūhoe and ngā puhi. I know the ngā puhi will probably be, maybe there might be factions that won't be so agreeable. That's fine by us. If we've got people up there that don't agree, we're going to argue till the cows come home. And even if we get to a point like this, we're going to end up fighting up there because that's our home too. Ai ka rua ke o mātau. I roto te TeTaiTokerau AukatiTai. And like I've said even last week, it's not just ngā puhi up there. For years and years and years, we were all shut out. And people thought it was ngā puhi only up there, and that's crap. It's utter crap. And if awa has come in and they still think it's all ngā puhi awa up there, that's utter crap. Just because there was going a lot more up there doesn't mean to say it's all awa ngā puhi. Forget that. Forget it. Okay? So, at any point, that we will be turning the whakatapu up to full power. Whakatapu, kaharawa nei, te mana mai, te tūturu mai, ki roto te takotopu mai o te Whakatapu ki roto te TeTaiTokerau AukatiTai ki o Mataawha ke nā whenua. O Mataawha ke nā whenua. Pōrani kia mātau. E rā, pēnāna i tō kahungunu rangitāne kremene. Takatahine, ki runga ki te tūākana. E hia ke nei te roa. E hia ke nei te wā. Takatahine, ki runga ki te tūākana. I roto te rohe wenua. Pōrani ke no te rā tūāhuatanga. Pōrani ke o i rā mea tia o rātai. Pōrani. Pōrani, pōrani, pōrani. Pō au ke katoa. And it's just utterly crazy. And I do not want to hear that sort of thing come back at me up there in TeTaiTokerau AukatiTai and have people say, pōrangi ke no o Tahumaakaakanuimatua ki te takoto Whakatapu ki roto te TeTaiTokerau AukatiTai. E rawa ke atu no tira. E rawa ke atu o tira. Kōrero o wai, o wai, o wai, o wai, o wai. Pēnā me te mea rātau kōrero tonu ihoa noa i tērā kōrero kia mātau. Whakai e tonu ake atu e mātau. Tērā kōrero. It's not pōrangi. Whakatapu is fine. Okay? Whakatapu is fine. Okay? Just that not many people would lay such a heavy one as this one. And but we can do that in our own land. See? So there's nothing you can do about that. What is pōrangi is to claim claims like these tribes claim in Waiwhaiaa and in Heretaunga Wairoa. You know, tino he na wātu, they've got no evidence, corrupted as, flawed as the process, and they're totally huna atuana ki raro ki te panekoti o te kuini, o te karaunga. O te kiingi, sorry, it's kiingi now, o te karaunga. Pai raro rawa I te panekoti. You know, and they decided, when they decided that they would hide under the skirt tails of the crown, you know, that was their worst mistake that they ever made. Because what they didn't know they were getting into was a claim of a real iwi that was going to handle things like a real iwi does. And that's what we're doing. We're not being pōrangi at all. Every real iwi should do the same and stand up for their rights and stand up for their lands, and stand up for their ancestries in very much the same way. What's pōrangi in te TeTaiTokerau AukatiTai is a lot of the occult that's going on up there. A lot of those Karakia through Io, a lot of those from the dark side that goes on. Koia e nā, ke te pōrangi. Okay? Koia e nā, ke te pōrangi. E nā mea patu wairua, e nā mea patu tikanga, patu tangata, e nā mea kōhuru I te tangata. Whakatapu is not kōhuru. Whakatapu is not patu tangata, though that can happen, you know. We know that, but there's a way that can be prevented, see? So that's not kōhuru, see? So therefore that's not pōrangi. Not like your occult karakia that you got going on up there. That's pōrangi. So we're going to have some good arguments there in te TeTaiTokerau AukatiTai if it comes to that. Okay? But, you know, again I say for our whenua up there we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take it to war if it takes that. Not going to worry us anywhere in the country where our lands are. We'll stand up and fight. And we're not going to let the Crown dictate to us what we do in our lands. The Crown has no jurisdiction or authority in any of our lands. So neither are we going to let them do that to us. And stand over us and blackmail us and hijack our whenua out from under us. And omit our ancestries from the heritage of our lands. Karakia. Karakia. E waihoti atu ane mātau. E rā momo. O te harahara. Kia pēnā tunu anu hoki kia mātau. Okay, but I'm going to leave it there for now, for tonight, and pray, Mighty Father, Te Yahweh Atua, Mighty Lord, you know, we definitely need your assistance over this whole situation. This whole situation has the potential to go to war, and it's close at hand. People are at the ready. People have already got their weaponry out and ready to go. Lord, we need you to help these crazies among the Crown, among the Kahungunu, among the Rangitane who are trying to get a deal that just is never going to work and is corrupted as and lacks reinforcement and lacks evidence and substantiation. Lord, how crazy can you be? And then for it to be done by the most junior groups in the land, Lord, that's insulting us to the max and asking us as the most senior to go under them. What an insult. What an insult. I don't blame most of our people for wanting to knock them on the head. But Lord, you have the power over all things. You control all things. I mean, even the evil one cannot defeat you. Even all the makings of the evil one mixed up with all the stuff, Lord, cannot defeat you, cannot defy you to the point that all of the criminal and corrupt and evil and crazy things that they do cannot be the be-all and end of all in this whole situation, Lord. No, only your goodness and mercy and your power and authority over all situations, Lord, that lasts forever, because your goodness lasts forever, your love lasts forever, your mercy lasts forever. Just like the Karakia pool, no one can throw the Karakia pool at you and your people and your children, Lord. Why? Because the Karakia pool burns up. It gets burnt up. You know, it might fly at us at night and still gets burnt up by your Whaiwhaiaa, by your power, by your love, that awesome consuming fire. That for people like that, they may very well end up in the last days, Lord, in the great fire of the second death that you have set for them. Could that be the end for a lot of these people instead, rather than the battle that is looking to ensue between our people and the crown and the Kahungunu and the Rangitane, who are the craziest of the crazy as far as I'm concerned, Lord. Fraudulent, crazy people that do not realize. But, you know, people want to knock them on the head. They've got to understand the reasons for that. But Lord, if your authority, if your power and your judgment can take over this whole situation, I'll be fine with that. I've got no worries with that. Because we know your judgment is good and right. You'll always do the right thing by us. And I keep saying it, Lord. But if you be for us, you know, and we're God-centered. You're at the center of everything for us these days. Did our Tupuna that stayed staunch with the Pantheon, did they get rid of your power and your strength through our tuakana? No, they didn't. And this is how powerfully you returned back into the motu. Why? Because you were always here. Why? Because we're always going to be descendants of those tuakana. And you know, those tuakana, they've remained your people. And so today we can't help but be enshrouded by your power, by your glory, by your mana, by your strength and authority, Lord. And so I pray this prayer for all our people, especially though for the kids and for the new generations and for the whakatupuranga of today. Because we need you sometimes. Sometimes we can't get it quite right. Sometimes we can't find the best ending. And so I ask of you that for tonight, and continue to pray on for your protection and love over us, over tonight, and especially over the children and the generations of our young people, and all in Jesus' name. Amen. Ka piti hono ka tātai hono ko rātau mātunu anō huki tērā, te mate ki a rātau. Ka piti hono ka tātai hono, ko tātau mātunu anō tēnei tātau. Koau. A te kā nuhi ora ki a tātau. Koau. Kai te mihi ati. Kai te mihi ati tātau mākatoa anō o koutou. Karamui mai anō ai ngā kōrero. Kua la pewhia la. Tonu hoki te kōrero, te āhua o te kōrero. Arara, takariri tonu anō ai roto i ai e tahi wā. Riri matanui tonu anō ai roto i ai e tahi wā. Hoa tonu anō ai rā hoki. Noho tonu mai anō ai ki te karamui mei. Tēnā rā koutou, tēnā rā koutou. He nui anō no ngā tāngata. E karamui ana i ngā kōrero ki te whakarongo ngiati ngā kōrero. Nā reira kai te mihi ati. Kai te mihi ati ko koutou anō tēnei e whakarangatiratia ana anō katoa anō i ngā kōrero. E nā reira kai te mihi, tēnā rā tātou. Tēnā rā tātou. Mauri ora, kahuri.